Back here on HQ Spotlight, and there is no love lost between the Steelers and Ravens. Flashback to early January, and that's when Pittsburgh fought off a late push by the Ravens to lay claim to the AFC North title. Well, if you draft well enough, though, both teams are hoping to be in the hunt for that title again, along with the Browns and Bengals. The Steelers with the 21st overall pick, the Ravens with the 14th, Bengals with the 10th, and the Browns have the 6th and 24th picks of the first round. By now, you should know the drill. We've got Ryan Wilson and John Breech back with us. And Ryan, you'll break down draft needs, and John, you'll handle free agency. Ryan, with Pittsburgh, they have the new head coach and Mike McCarthy leading the way. Could be a reunion between him and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has spoken to him about a potential return. What does this mean for them when it comes to the draft?
Tiffany, talk about that Week 18 matchup between the Steelers and the Ravens. That feels like 25 years ago because so much has changed for both organizations. Talking about Pittsburgh, new old head coach in Western PA's own 62-year-old Mike McCarthy. They got to figure out the quarterbacks. So we'll pass on that for now. If Ty Simpson's there at 21, I still don't think they should take him. Instead, they have needs on offense at wide receiver and defense at cornerback for starters. If someone like Mekhi Lemon out of USC is there at 21, you break a leg running up to the podium to turn in that card because DK Metcalf was all by himself in terms of wide receiver playmaking ability last season. I love Calvin Austin III, but you don't need a wide receiver two that's 5'9". Mekhi Lemon's probably 5'11", but he plays like Amon-Ra St. Brown, and that's something I can certainly get behind. If you want to go defense instead, if all the wide receivers are off the board, someone like Colton Hood, the other quotation mark cornerback from Tennessee. I say that because Jermon McCoy is going to have a chance to be a first-round pick as well. Physical outside corner, and he fits exactly what the Steelers historically like to do, would play opposite Joey Porter Jr. Those are two options, but you could see their draft needs at the bottom. That list could be 5 or 6 or 7 other positions long, but that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and when they get to free agency, which I guess they'll do before the draft, they'll have a lot of the same needs. I think the secondary, Ryan, you mentioned that, but also wide receiver. It's pretty clear they need a number 2 guy behind DK Metcalf, so that's something they're going to have to hunt down. And then at cornerback, you obviously need someone opposite Joey Porter Jr. He is your starter. He is a shutdown corner, so you're completely happy there. And this is actually a pretty strong class for cornerbacks if that's what you're in the market for. They could go raid the Seahawks coming off that Super Bowl win. Tariq Woolen going to be a free agent. Josh Jobe going to be free agent. So maybe you call one of them. You got a couple big names, Jalen Watson. So there are a lot of corners out there that the Steelers could go after. And then obviously you have to get the quarterback position figured out, as Ryan mentioned. Do you know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play? Because Aaron Rodgers can't milk this until July like he did last year. The Steelers are going to need to know before free agency starts, because if he's not playing, then you have to make a move and go get a quarterback. Maybe you hope that Kirk Cousins gets cut. You grab someone like that. Maybe you make a trade for someone like Tua Tagovailoa or Derek Carr, who apparently wants to play football. So if Rodgers does not play, that opens up a whole Pandora's box for the Steelers, so they're probably hoping at this point that he does play at least one more season.
You know, you caught my ears, you caught my attention with that Tariq Woolen possibly going to the Steelers. A 6'4" corner. It doesn't really get any better than that with his skill set. All right, John, we're going to stick with you. The Ravens have a new head coach in Jesse Minter, defensive-minded coach. Could defense be an area that they look to address first in free agency?
Yes, I think Jesse Minter, probably the second day he was hired, looked at his roster and said, oh my gosh, we've got to add defensive players, because you look at what the Ravens did last season. They could not rush the passer, just didn't get a lot of sacks. And so that's somewhere where you obviously have to improve. There are a lot of guys out there they could go after. And then the other thing that the Ravens need to do is they need to improve their interior offensive line. We don't know if Tyler Linderbaum's going to return. That is a multi-time Pro Bowler. That would be a huge loss if he's not in Baltimore. So I think if you're the Ravens and you're willing to let him walk, there has to be somebody you're eyeing. It could be Bill Center, Connor McGovern, I think could make some sense in Baltimore. So that could be a big question mark for the Ravens heading into free agency. And then that's really maybe wide receiver. You could use some help because you don't have very much behind Zay Flowers, but I don't think that's a huge need. I really think they just focus on pass rush and making sure you know who your center is going to be snapping that ball to Lamar Jackson.
I'm with you. Jesse Minter is all about defense. We saw the wonders he worked for L.A., the Chargers, last season. So, Breech, I'm going to start on the interior defensive line. Caden McDonald out of Ohio State. He has a chance to be a mid-first-round pick. Nnamdi Madubuike struggled with injuries for much of last season. Even when he's healthy, you could certainly give him some help. Right now, McDonald is awesome as a run stuffer. He will improve as a pass rusher, but that's where you start the conversation. And then edge rush. Let's just keep along the defensive line here. TJ Parker did not play in 2025 like he did in 2024. He played at the Senior Bowl in those practices like it was 2024 because he went off. He reminds me a lot of Jared Verse. We know that Jesse Minter got the most out of Odafe Oweh, incidentally playing for the Ravens previously, and Tuli Tuipulotu. And I think that TJ Parker as an edge rush answers the questions that you just put out there about getting after the quarterback a little more frequently.
Well, guys, Cincinnati, kind of the outlier amongst these teams. Nothing's really changed there on, away from the field when you come to the coaches and the front office. But clearly moves need to be made to help this team get back in the postseason conversation. What positions do they need to address in the draft, Ryan?
So a little peek behind the curtain, Tiffany. I'm a Steelers fan, and of course, Breech is a Bengals fan. So I'm going to give them, with their two first-round picks, a punter. All right, next question. Now, okay, let's talk about this seriously. I need that team to trade Joe Burrow to the Steelers. In the real world, and Breech, I can't imagine, would argue with this. They have to get edge rush help. He can talk all he wants about Trey Henderson getting franchised by the Bengals. That is crazy talk even for Cincinnati. Ruben Bain Jr., if he is there, is going to be the pick. I know Caleb Downs is going to be in the conversation, but you have to get after the quarterback, and Ruben Bain Jr. was as productive as anyone on planet Earth last year. He's not going to be 6'5" and have 35-inch arms, but he doesn't need to be given the way he played. If you want to go in another direction, Caleb Downs, who I just mentioned, if all the edge rushers are gone, he reminds me, I'm going to keep saying it until I'm proven otherwise, he reminds me of Troy Polamalu. And Troy Polamalu terrorized the Bengals and his former teammate Carson Palmer when they were playing in that division together. And he is going to be an absolute game changer from day one. But most importantly, you got to pressure the quarterback, and you got to do it without angering your edge rushers, Breech.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that for once, we're not talking about the Bengals' offensive line being their biggest need, which is kind of a moral victory going into the offseason, that your offense is set. If the Bengals need anything, it's not just edge rusher. It is just anything on defense at all. It could be their interior defensive line, linebacker, safety. DJ Turner is probably the best player on that defense at this point at corner, so that's the one spot where they feel comfortable. And it's not just Trey Hendrickson that they may be losing this offseason. Joseph Asai, who was second on the team in sacks in 2025, also set to be a free agent. So they do need a lot of pass rushing help. This isn't a team that's going to go out and probably try and hit a home run. You have guys like Khalil Mack there, Hassan Reddick. I'm not sure they are going to sign guys like that, but maybe they go after someone like A.J. Epinesa or Draymond Jones. So there are guys that will fit their budget. And the one thing, Ryan, you mentioned tagging Trey Hendrickson. Maybe they tag and trade. I could see that being compelling just because there are so many teams that need a pass rusher right now. So if you're the Bengals, why let them walk away for free? Tag them, make teams call you up, make them make the offers, and then deal them because you need all the draft picks you can get. But the Bengals, it feels like defense will absolutely be their main focus in free agency.
And Hendrickson means so much to that team, despite how the offseason went for him last year. He still showed up immediately and had an impact on the team like he always does. All right, on to the Browns, guys. Todd Monken as their new head coach, and it's no secret he's excited about quarterback Shedeur Sanders. John, where will they look to build around the young QB in free agency?
Well, the Browns are the reverse Bengals. They have a defense, one of the best in the NFL. They do not have an offense. And when I say that, I almost mean literally. All 5 starters on the Browns' offensive line are set to be free agents. So they have to get that figured out. That is their number one need, whether that is figuring out how to re-sign those guys, whether that's going out in free agency and finding 5 new guys. I don't know what you do because that is almost an unprecedented situation to be in. And you have to protect your young quarterback, as you mentioned, Tiffany, even though you're starting at square one on the offensive line. And then beyond that, they got to figure out quarterback, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, bring in someone else. I'm not sure what you do. And then wide receiver, you got to find someone a little bit more depth at that position. So it's going to be a busy offseason for the Browns.
Yeah, assuming they stick with the quarterback in Shador and or Dillon. I'll give you two names to immediately upgrade the offense. At number 6, you take Francis Malinois, the right tackle out of the U. Day 1 starter, play him opposite DeJuan Jones. That's a good place to begin. And then later in pick 24, if Denzel Boston is there, the 6'4" wide receiver out of Washington, pair him with Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin III. And now, Tiffany, you're cooking with gas. The offense can help with that defense a little bit, and the defense doesn't have to score 10 points a game, and perhaps can be a little bit more competitive in the AFC North.
Yeah, let's hope so. We didn't have the Ravens in the mix last season, right? It's kind of crazy with Lamar Jackson. And then, of course, the Bills still not being able to get it, as we talked about earlier. But anyway, I digress. I don't have a team, just so you guys know.
She's going to be a Jags fan, guys. I've already started the recruitment, okay?
I'm neutral. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you, Ryan and John. All right, let's take a look at the odds. And I'd say it looks pretty good
for the Ravens.
right? But not so much for everybody else.
Yeah.